What are raccoon dogs? The monogamous, hibernating canids, which are related to foxes, are sold for meat and fur. On Thursday, scientists unveiled new data on the possible origins of the COVID-19 pandemic and put a strange, squat creature squarely in the spotlight. Meet the raccoon dog. It earns its name from its black facial markings, which give the animal a masked appearance and a more than passing resemblance to those infamous raiders of urban trash cans. The animals were at least occasionally sold at the Huanan seafood wholesale market, where many virologists suspect that the COVID-19 pandemic may have started. Scientists had previously announced that swabs from the market had tested positive for the coronavirus that causes COVID-19. The new data revealed that some of these same swabs also contained substantial genetic material from raccoon dogs. The findings did not prove that raccoon dogs were infected with the virus or that they had passed it on to humans, but they are consistent with the possibility that wild animals at the market may have set off the COVID-19 pandemic. Here's what to know about the animal in the news. What are raccoon dogs? Despite their name, raccoon dogs are not close relatives of raccoons. They are members of the canid family, a group that also includes domestic dogs and are most closely related to foxes. Unlike other canids, they may hibernate in winter. Raccoon dogs are omnivores, dining on food sources like rodents and berries. Although they appear svelte in the summer, they pack on the pounds for winter when their fur also becomes thicker. They are monogamous, often living in pairs. Where do they live? Raccoon dogs are native to East Asia, including parts of China, Korea and Japan, where they are known as tanuki. They have also become widespread in parts of Europe, where they are considered an invasive species. They are sometimes hunted as pests. Raccoon dogs have long been farmed for their fur. China is a leading producer of raccoon dog pelts. In 2014, the country produced more than 14 million pelts, 100 times as many as Europe, according to one report. They are also sold for their meat in live animal markets. They were sold at the Huanan seafood wholesale market at least as late as November 2019, researchers have reported. Are they the source of the virus that causes COVID-19? Not necessarily. Laboratory experiments have shown that raccoon dogs are susceptible to, and capable of transmitting, the novel coronavirus. But that does not mean that they are the natural reservoir for the virus. Even if raccoon dogs at the market were infected, they might have been an intermediate host, picking up the virus from bats or another species. Raccoon dogs and bats were both common on and around some of the farms that supplied the market, scientists have noted. A similar scenario may have unfolded 2 decades ago, after the emergence of SARS, which is also caused by a coronavirus. In 2003, scientists found evidence of infected palm civets and raccoon dogs at a live animal market in Shenzhen, China. But subsequent research ultimately pointed to bats as the natural reservoir for the virus that causes SARS. Raccoon dogs appeared to be intermediate hosts. Can I pet a raccoon dog if I see one? It's probably not a good idea, as tempting as it might be. COVID-19 aside, the animals are known to be vectors for other diseases, including rabies. The Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals recommends against keeping raccoon dogs as pets. New data links pandemic's origins to raccoon dogs at Wuhan market. Genetic samples from the market were recently uploaded to an international database and then removed after scientists asked China about them. An international team of virus experts said on Thursday that they had found genetic data from a market in Wuhan, China, linking the coronavirus with raccoon dogs for sale there, adding evidence to the case that the worst pandemic in a century could have been ignited by an infected animal that was being dealt through the illegal wildlife trade. The genetic data was drawn from swabs taken from in and around the Huanan seafood wholesale market starting in January 2020, shortly after the Chinese authorities had shut down the market because of suspicions that it was linked to the outbreak of a new virus. By then, the animals had been cleared out, but researchers swabbed walls, floors, metal cages and carts often used for transporting animal cages. In samples that came back positive for the coronavirus, the international research team found genetic material belonging to animals, including large amounts that were a match for the raccoon dog. 3 scientists involved in the analysis said, "The jumbling together of genetic material from the virus and the animal does not prove that a raccoon dog itself was infected. And even if a raccoon dog had been infected, it would not be clear that the animal had spread the virus to people. Another animal could have passed the virus to people, or someone infected with the virus could have spread the virus to a raccoon dog. But the analysis did establish that raccoon dogs, fluffy animals that are related to foxes and are known to be able to transmit the coronavirus, deposited genetic signatures in the same place where genetic material from the virus was left." The 3 scientists said. That evidence, they said, was consistent with a scenario in which the virus had spilled into humans from a wild animal. A report with the full details of the international research team's findings has not yet been published. Their analysis was first reported by The Atlantic. The new evidence is sure to provide a jolt to the debate over the pandemic's origins, even if it does not resolve the question of how it began. In recent weeks, the so-called lab leak theory, which posits that the coronavirus emerged from a research lab in Wuhan, has gained traction thanks to a new intelligence assessment from the U.S. Department of Energy and hearings led by the new Republican House leadership. But the genetic data from the market offer some of the most tangible evidence yet of how the virus could have spilled into people from wild animals outside a lab. It also suggests that Chinese scientists have given an incomplete account of evidence that could fill in details about how the virus was spreading at the Huanan market. Jeremy Kimmel, a virologist at Louisiana State University Health Sciences Center Shreveport who was not involved in the study, said the findings showed that the samples from the market that had early COVID lineages in them were contaminated with DNA reads of wild animals. Dr. Kimmel said that fell short of conclusive evidence that an infected animal had set off the pandemic. But, he said, it really puts the spotlight on the illegal animal trade in an intimate way. Chinese scientists had released a study looking at the same market samples in February 2022. That study had reported that samples were positive for the coronavirus but suggested that the virus had come from infected people who were shopping or working in the market rather than from animals being sold there. At some point, those same researchers, including some affiliated with the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention, posted the raw data from swabs around the market to GISED, an international repository of genetic sequences of viruses. Attempts to reach the Chinese scientists by phone on Thursday were not successful. On March 4, Florence D. Berry, an evolutionary biologist at the French National Center for Scientific Research, happened to be searching that database for information related to the Huanan market when, she said in an interview, she noticed more sequences than usual popping up. Confused at first about whether they contained new data, Dr. D. Berry put them aside, only to log in again last week and discover that they held a trove of raw data. Virus experts had been awaiting that raw sequence data from the market since they learned of its existence in the Chinese report from February 2022. Dr. D. Berry said she had alerted other scientists, including the leaders of a team that had published a set of studies last year pointing to the market as the origin. An international team, which included Michael Werrobe, an evolutionary biologist at the University of Arizona, Christian Anderson, a virologist at the Scripps Research Institute in California, and Edward Holmes, a biologist at the University of Sydney, started mining the new genetic data last week. One sample in particular caught their attention. It had been taken from a cart linked to a specific stall at the Huanan market that Dr. Holmes had visited in 2014, scientists involved in the analysis said. That stall, Dr. Holmes found, contained caged raccoon dogs on top of a separate cage holding birds, exactly the sort of environment conducive to the transmission of new viruses. The swab taken from a cart there in early 2020, the research team found, contained genetic material from the virus and a raccoon dog. We were able to figure out relatively quickly that at least in one of these samples, there was a lot of raccoon dog nucleic acid, along with virus nucleic acid, said Stephen Goldstein, a virologist at the University of Utah who worked on the new analysis. Nucleic acids are the chemical building blocks that carry genetic information.